So am I saying that the Rockford Fosgate subwoofer doesn't sound as loud as the Bose system? No, I am not saying that at all, but you need to tune into this video to find out the reasons why. What's going on, everybody? Today I have a treat for you. I am reviewing a new subwoofer that I purchased for my Audi Q7, which is the Rockford Fosgate P3SD4-8. It's an 8-inch dual 4-ohm voice coil on this particular subwoofer. You'll see that I have wires kind of going across the back. I ended up wiring it down to 2 ohms. I'll get into the reasons why in a little bit. But it is in replacement of the factory subwoofer, which is this one over here. So it's going to be a direct drop-in. I'm going to review the subwoofer as a direct drop-in and not as something that I'm going to hook up an external amp in. One of the things that I will say just kind of on the surface is that I'm really impressed with how shallow this thing is. The space requirements in the factory location require something that's really shallow. I'm excited to see kind of how this performs in that space. I haven't even plugged it in yet. I'm that excited I'm talking about it, but I will be doing measurements. I do have a sound level meter that I'm going to be testing. I did take a bunch of measurements before this video with the factory subwoofer to see kind of where the decibels are. I am going to get a little scientific on the reasons why I picked this, as well as the reasons why I think that it's going to be either the same sound volume or higher sound pressure, which means louder inside the vehicle. So I'm trying to be scientific about this to see, does it actually sound louder? Is it a better fit? I'm really excited to dive into the technical details, so here we go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to dive into is understanding why did I pick the subwoofer that I did. Well, the first thing that you have to consider is the depth. So I'm going to hold up the Rockford Fosgate, and then I'm also going to hold up the factory subwoofer. You will see that the factory subwoofer is a lot deeper. So I had to find something that was less deep than this. But more importantly, you'll see the magnet size on this, on the factory subwoofer, is smaller than the magnet size on this. So just because it is the subwoofer itself, as it's sticking to my microphone, just because the subwoofer itself might be shallower or maybe the same depth, if the magnet is larger, it's going to hit against the plastic inside of the enclosure. Now I'm going to have a picture up here that's going to show the enclosure itself, that you'll see that it kind of comes up a little bit. So it has like this 3 to 4 inch lift on half of the subwoofer space. In the factory installation, I took a video of inside of me placing the speaker in. You'll actually see that the factory magnet comes very close to hitting that plastic piece, which means that if you did a bigger subwoofer that has equal depth, you're going to have issues. So what I did is I ended up getting this shallow mount subwoofer, and I based the subwoofer selection based off of how deep can I actually go. So I have a spreadsheet that I put together. I'm also a really huge fan of JL Audio, and I was looking at the W0s, W1s, and W3s to understand, what is available. Well, I'm noticing that JL Audio is moving away from the 8-inch format for their subwoofers. Everything is like 10 inches and above. So the only ones that would fit had depth that was too much, or the volumetric information was a little off. So what's interesting about the scientific part of this is I ended up doing a fuzzy measurement of how much sound volume is inside of the box. As I was looking at the box, I realized that the factory box is actually a ported box. It doesn't look like that on the surface, but when you kind of look to the side and you find the port, you're like, oh, duh, this is a ported enclosure that they have for the Bose system. So what I ended up having to do is understand what is the volumetric information inside of this box. So I did some fuzzy calculations, and I'm not saying that they're perfect, but they're approximate. And I also ended up taking a look at the specifications for the different types of subwoofers for a ported box, what should it be? So for the Rockford Fosgate P3, this particular shallow mount subwoofer for a vented box or a ported box, it is recommending about 0.75 cubic feet. When I did the calculations and the measurements on the box, it ended up the box was about 0.77. So it was almost a perfect fit for a vented box to be able to drop the subwoofer in. The other subwoofers were more like 0.3 to 0.5, so it would have been a much bigger box than necessary for those other subwoofers. This is, again, almost a perfect fit. The other thing that kind of swayed my my direction here is not a lot of companies do subwoofers that will go down to 2 ohms. Now, you have to wire them in. This actually comes with a dual 2 ohm system if you want it. I didn't like that. I didn't want to accidentally wire it down to 1 ohm and cause issues on the amplifier within the Bose 3D system. So what I ended up doing is I did the dual 4 ohm system, which allows you to wire it. And I'll get into the wiring specifications on how to wire it down to 2 ohms in a little bit. But this does allow me to go down to 2 ohms. The factory system, as you'll see with my impedance meter, is 2 ohms. Now, it will fluctuate between 2.1 to 1.8. That's close enough for a 2 ohm impedance. You'll see that the 1.8 on the factory and the 1.8 on the Rockford Fosgate system are exactly the same. So I would say that it's almost a perfect fit for impedance, which means you're not going to be overworking the factory amplifier in the vehicle, and it's just going to be a better fit altogether. Now, the last thing that I'll say is the power handling. Now, the power handling for RMS on the punch system is 150 watts. The factory system is also 150 watts. So again, it's almost like this subwoofer was specifically designed for the Audi. The fitment wise, you'll see that in these pictures, it actually is a direct drop in into the vehicle. The only thing that gets a little weird is this pigtail here. I had to wire in the pigtail. It's a direct wire into the factory harness. So I did solder it, and then I used heat shrink to be able to shrink it down. The positive and negative are pretty transparent as to what's what. The positive terminal is going to be the red one. The negative one is going to be the green one. And the way that I was able to affirm that is on the back end of this subwoofer, and I'll pull up a picture of it. It actually has a positive and negative. So you do know which one's positive, you do know which negative, and I know that I wired this correctly for positive and negative. So all in all, this could not be a more perfect fit for the sound system compared to the other systems that are out there. All right, everyone, I'm just taking a quick break from my video just to ask a quick favor of everybody here. If you're liking the content and like what I'm talking about, please hit the like button below. Also, I ask that you hit subscribe. It is free. It doesn't charge you anything to subscribe to my channel. It is just something that helps my channel grow, shows YouTube that I'm serious about building these videos and building a brand around car type of videos and tangents, of course. So if you can help me out, I would really appreciate that. Also, feel free to comment below. The comments also help be able to interact with the videos. I can answer questions. I usually try to do my best to answer questions, even from videos from like 7 years ago I'm still responding to. So thank you guys very much. Now we're going to go back to the technical details of the subwoofer. Thanks again. All right, I know I'm killing everybody. You want to hear the sound of it, but I have one more thing to cover about the speaker, which is actually talking about the speaker itself. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the trim ring that they have. Some subwoofers do come with trim rings that are attached to the outside of the speaker to kind of give it a more polished look. This says Punch on it. It also has the Rockford Fosgate logo on it. It looks pretty cool. But this is made out of aluminum, which I thought was kind of neat that they include an aluminum trim piece versus just a plastic chintzy one. It doesn't flex at all. It is very sturdy. So definitely impressed. I definitely like that kind of touch. The only other thing that I'd say that came in the box that I liked is this. They actually have a card saying thank you for your order. I love it when companies thank you for your business, but it comes with a sticker. So I'm going to see if I can maybe attach this to the box if the box isn't too slippery or doesn't allow adhesion, but I might actually put that on the Bose box, just maybe a little tongue-in-cheek saying, yeah, I have Rockford Fosgate in there. One technology that I find really intriguing about this particular subwoofer has to do with the surround itself. So you'll see that the speaker surround actually goes all the way out to the edge, kind of where everything is mounted on the outside. This is flexible. That's flexible. This is all flexible. They call this the vast surround. Now, I don't buy into the gimmicks of every single company, but I actually see the value of it. When you compare that to the factory subwoofer here, you'll actually see that the surround itself, this is where it attaches. So it may be rubber, but it doesn't actually have any movement there, which means that they actually get more surface area out of the speaker itself. And when there's more surface area, you have more sound movement or air movement, which means that you also get a better note and deeper notes out of a subwoofer. So I thought that those were kind of some cool things that Rockford Fosgate included here. I did do some weights measurements of the differences because sometimes you can't really feel the differences. The Bose system definitely is lighter because the magnet is smaller than the Rockford Fosgate. Not that you really care about the weight so much unless you're racing, then you need to pull it out for every ounce counts. But yeah, I definitely think that Rockford Fosgate did an awesome job with the technology and being able to build a really small form factor, but hopefully reliable subwoofer. I'll let you know if it's not. I will. And yeah, so those are a couple of different things that I like about the Rockford Fosgate. Now the part that you all have been waiting for. Let's get the installation in and let's see if there's any difference when it comes to SPL. So here we go. All right, I'm going to quickly set up this video so you understand what's going on here. I have my sound level meter in the center of the vehicle leaning up against the screen. I have different variations of setups here. So I have the Bose in the upper left, Rockford Fosgate on the right. Those have exact same settings across the board. The bottom one is the optimized settings along with the max sound level. So cranking it all the way up to max in the vehicle. You'll see that on the sensor itself or on this SPL meter itself, it says slow at the top. Slow means it's doing gradual measurements. So you'll see sometimes in the videos that those numbers are fluctuating or out of sync. Well, that's because it took like maybe a previous reading and it's still waiting to refresh to the next reading. So it isn't always the same. The weight gets the same, or you can kind of get a really good measurement of kind of like based off of the frequency. So how high or low the bass is, and be based off of a sustained note. So you can have a good idea of what or how many decibels there are. So I'm going to leave it there. We're going to listen to the video, and then we'll get into more analysis of what we found. So I'm going to quickly explain kind of what you're seeing here. You'll see that in this particular picture, and I didn't cherry pick this, I just did kind of a random stopping point inside of this video. You'll see that the Bose system and the Rockford Fosgate system are pretty close to each other in sound level. They're within 1 decibel, which 1 decibel can be louder, but it's not anything that you're going to be like, wow, this is like massively louder for the sound pressure inside the vehicle. You'll also notice that the graphic down below, from the Bose system to the Rockford Fosgate system with the different tuning for inside of the Bose system settings itself, it is about, it's actually 2.2 decibel louder. So I kind of feel like this is a really good representation of speaker for speaker. I think they're pretty similar for sound level. But when you tune the system the right way within the settings, you can squeak out a little bit more sound volume than just the factory settings. Now I have a couple other songs that I can't actually play because I will get copyrighted on YouTube. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to play them. I'm going to talk over them to kind of explain what you're seeing. And then we'll see if the Rockford Fosgate system, kind of like for like, and also that custom tuning is actually louder as it pertains to the system. So here we go. Throughout the first song, you're going to see that the Bose system is actually outperforming the Rockford Fosgate system on this particular song by Yellow Wolf called Pop the Trunk. And then the second song by the Gremlin called How She Walk, you also see that the sustained bass notes do favor the Bose system slightly over what the Rockford Fosgate system is producing. Are you saying that the Rockford Fosgate system is less loud than the Bose system? No, I'm not saying that at all. What's interesting about this is that the Bose system was created specifically for that box, for that impedance, and for the factory amplifier. So they really did tune the Bose system for the bass to be able to fit within those constraints or within those parameters of the system itself. So when you go speaker for speaker, The Rockford Fosgate system can handle up to 300 watts. So when you turn up that sound volume up to a higher level, you're going to be providing more watts to that speaker, which means that the Rockford Fosgate is going to be able to handle like max level sound if you put it at max level. Now, the Bose system does have its limitations where it actually starts falling off with the bass definition as you crank it up higher and higher and higher. So it is pretty interesting that even though I select 40 decibel, because I don't want to blow out any of my mid-range or tweeters or whatever in this experiment, it did outperform at that level a little bit higher than the Rockford Fosgate. Now, I do want to call out a couple of different really important points about the Rockford Fosgate. It actually is a cleaner bass note. It is more precise. So when the bass hits like a kick drums in a rock song, or being able to do like bass and stop, you actually get way better accuracy with the Rockford Fosgate than you do with the Bose system, probably because there's less travel for it to be able to go up and down. It keeps that very precise note. So when I compare the sound quality over sound volume at 40 decibel, the Rockford Fosgate takes the cake. It actually sounds way cleaner, way more precise at the sound level of 40 than the factory system does. But for like raw bass output, if that's your thing where you just want to hear blah and like shake your whole car and craziness like that, go with an external box in your car. Like actually have a box, get an amplifier, hook it up to the battery, and then just use that as your bass machine. But this really does perform really well when it comes to bass accuracy. The sound level is high enough that you really can't tell the difference between the two, the factory and the Rockford Fosgate system. But I prefer that cleaner bass note, so I think it sounds good. Do I think I am done with the system? There's still a really big void in the system. Even after custom tuning all the settings to make it sound the best, which I have another video on, so definitely subscribe if you want to see that other video. But even after I customize all those settings, it still doesn't sound right in the car. It is absolutely missing mid-range. I don't know why the Bose system, they say Bose is all highs and no lows. It's so true with the system, and it's frustrating because Bose is not a bad brand. They have very clear speakers. I can crank the SQ7 volume all the way up to max level, and you still hear the music. There's no distortion. It sounds good. But the mid-range is just so lacking in the vehicle. I really think that's going to be my next adventure, is either A, figuring out a way to do a custom box so I can do like a 10 or a 12-inch enclosure in that same spot, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the door speakers to be able to get some more mid-range. So I'm still playing around. I'm not saying this is the final setting or this is like the absolute fix for your vehicle, but if you're looking for something with a little bit more precise bass, and if you're looking for something that can handle a little bit more power, even hooking an external amp to it, the Rockford Fosgate is a great choice. I still don't think it's a bad speaker. I just know that in my tests with an SPL meter, I was really able to kind of measure, is it louder? Is it like actually a louder subwoofer? It's not. It's just more precise, cleaner. And I will say some of the deeper bass notes, the Rockford Fosgate can hit. Whereas the factory would just kind of, you just lose the note. So there definitely is something to be said about drop-in replacement for quality and being able to hear a little bit wider range of the bass notes. So that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I will have another video about the perfect sound settings within the Bose 3D system. So do subscribe down below, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks again for watching. I'm always interested in hearing your opinions, so drop a comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more tangents on cars, motorcycles, and trucks. Thanks again for watching.